chapter was then known as the Beeson Abusers.
Yeah.
Known for their athletic prowess, among other things I cannot mention here. In that group, you will see some of those famous people here tonight. I must admit, being an alumnus advisor to a bunch of abusers was a whole new experience for me. And having a structured organization, especially one as strict as Kappa Alpha Order, was a whole new experience for them. Gosh, there were records to be kept, meetings to be held, dues to be assessed and collected. Who wanted to do this when there was an interfraternity football championship to be pursued? I remember all of you. God bless you. Bless your hearts. I was doubly proud when my two sons, Will Robinson and Frank, were initiated into Epsilon U. Now bringing you swiftly up to date, look at Epsilon U now. Skip Sater begged National to reach out to Epsilon U after so many years of decline and loss of his charter. So Skip, we salute you for your efforts and the rebirth of Epsilon U. And also for sending us your son, appropriately named Trip. He has become mine and Marshall's great friend and a wonderful, enthusiastic KA brother. He is my shadow. Trip is not with us tonight, but I want you to know I'm going to stop here and with my prepared remarks. And I've already received 4 emails from him today and 3 chats on Facebook. He had just arrived in Seville, Spain. He has his water ready to toast Amin and Lee. And he asked me to send him a copy of this speech, which I did in an email attachment. So he is participating with us in spirit. Our reach out at Epsilon U continues an excellent KA tradition, both locally and in the national profile. Joel Buck, our #1 during Reach Out, is now an executive with KA National, developing KA chapters throughout our nation. Thank you, Joel, for all you've done for Epsilon U and your significant service to Kappa Alpha Order. This past June, Epsilon U sent several brothers to the largest Emerging Leaders Academy ever. Our attendees did us proud. Justin Bourne was a member of the Model Mock chapter. Linwood Thompson was an ELA Leadership Award winner. And Joel Buck, Matt McAlvin, and Ross Shepard were Mock chapter advisors. Ross Shepard, as our immediate past #1, continued to provide Epsilon U with excellent leadership. I'm reminded that when at Gamma we elected the #1, we always chose the brother whom we had the greatest friendship and respect. I'm sure that was one of the considerations when Ross was elected. Now you transition to a new slate of chapter officers and have initiated into the order the fine group of gentlemen you pledged in the fall. Support for your new officers continue to instill in your new brothers the spirit of Kappa Alpha and maintain the leadership of Epsilon U on the GC campus. So you see, Epsilon U is doing a lot of things right and being recognized for excellence not only here at home, but throughout Kappa Alpha Order. Now I want to talk with you about the man whose birthday we celebrate tonight. Robert Edward Lee is known as our spiritual founder. Charles Bracelin Flood, in his book, Lee, The Last Years, tells of the founding of our noble order and its spiritual affiliation with Robert E. Lee. recounts the great discouragement of Samuel Zenas Almond and his friends and their unwillingness to let die the small brotherhood they had formed in December 1865, and which was struggling for survival some 17 months later. Had it not been for Almond and our brothers who were similarly dedicated, Alpha Order would not exist today. Almond and 11 friends set down a guideline that distinguished our brotherhood from all other fraternal organizations. While Kappa Alpha Order is alone among American fraternities to dedicate itself to the emulation of character. Character at its highest they saw exemplified in Robert E. Lee. Because Lee is the spiritual founder of our order, I will not spend more time relating the facts of his life, his parentage, schooling, military career, or influence on American education as he fulfilled his duties as president of what is now Washington and Lee University. The qualities that attracted Almond and his friends to Lee are, I believe, those same qualities that caused Lee's name to endure today and will continue to make his name live in future ages. It is to these spiritual qualities, then, that I would like to direct our attention. Robert E. Lee, more than anyone I can think of, is a symbol of the gentleman. That he was by accident of birth a Southerner is a matter of justifiable pride for the South. But those qualities that distinguish him as a gentleman transcends place and time. It is impossible, I believe, to tie any great man to a particular region of the country or to a particular time in its history, except in the most superficial ways. The chivalric qualities that Lee exemplified and which Almond and his friends of Third found so highly attractive did not originate with Lee. Their history is as remote as time itself, although they have been more visible in some ages than in others, and more visible in some individuals than in others. I suppose these qualities are seen most fully in Europe during the 12th and 13th centuries, an era of time that is known as the Age of Chivalry. Later in history, the South, more than any other section of the United States, was so formed by agricultural and other cultural influences that these medieval values became and particularly associated with the South. And in time, they became a special source of pride for the South. The Southern gentleman, like the medieval knight, became an archetypical pattern for gentlemen throughout the country. And Robert E. Lee was foremost among those Southern gentlemen who set the example for men everywhere to follow. If the young men of today who are brothers of Kappa Alpha Order wish to pay homage to Robert E. Lee, they will endeavor to incorporate into their own lives the qualities of character that Lee exemplified: gentleness, courtesy, humility, dignity, intelligence, and love and duty. All of the qualities of the gentleman, the most important is gentleness. However brave and strong, however powerful the gentleman is, at the same time he is sensitive to the limitations of others and is a protector and friend of the weak and defenseless. He would no more think of lording over his importance and rank over a man than he would have taken advantage of a woman or a child. The man who forms his manners upon the example set by Lee is not only a gentle person, he is also courteous. His manners are natural and unforced because they are innate. They consist not so much in outward polish as in inward substance. What outward polish there is but an outward invisible sign of an inward invisible grace. The real gentleman never insults another, never makes another feel ill at ease and awkward, but is so sincere in his concern for the ease and comfort of others that his every thought is directed toward making those in his presence feel completely at home and free of embarrassment. Those who would pattern themselves after Lee would also be humble. However exalted one may be in the eyes of others, he should strive daily for a spirit of humility. The more exalted one is, the more diligently he should strive for humility. And what is humility? The kind of humility exemplified by Lee. It is the awareness that your exalted station in life carries with it overwhelming responsibilities, the execution of which must be your daily concern. It is the willingness to lay upon yourself the lowliest burdens and to fulfill those tasks thoroughly, quickly, and without complaint or boast. The man of character is also a man of intelligence, which is not to say that he has degrees after his name, or that he has acquired much of what we call formal schooling, although he may have much schooling and many degrees. But he has a mind open to knowledge, and he recognizes his own intellectual limitations and sets about broadening the horizons of his knowledge. Like Socrates, he knows one thing for certain, namely that he really doesn't know anything at all in real completeness, and that awareness of his ignorance is the beginning of his wisdom. He is aware, as Blake writes, that if the windows of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it really is, infinite. Recognizing then the limits of his knowledge and the vastness of all there is to know, the intelligent man can do no better than keep an open mind on all subjects and form conclusions slowly and after much reflection. Finally, those who wish to follow the spiritual example of Robert E. Lee will show an unusually strong devotion to duty. Inscribed beneath the bust of Robert E. Lee in the Hall of Fame are these words: "Duty is the sublimest word in our language. Do your duty in all things. You cannot do more. You should never wish to do less." Lee also instructs us there is a true glory and a true honor. The glory of duty done, the honor of the integrity of principle. All of us play many roles, each of which carries its duties. You are sons, brothers, friends, students, citizens, Christians. You are members of a fraternal order. You are players on sports teams. You are students, and you are that special someone to your girlfriend. Your roles are numerous, and so are your responsibilities. Your duty is to fulfill each responsibility in a manner that you can live with a degree of justifiable pride. You will always know what your responsibility is, because it is always what you should be doing at the present moment. As soon as this convivium ends, your responsibility is to do whatever needs to be done next. Only you know what your duty is. But whatever it is, do it with all your might. As brothers of Kappa Alpha Order, you have always before you the highest ideals of character and achievement set by Robert E. Lee, whose birthday we celebrate tonight. You may know that you are fulfilling the objectives of Kappa Alpha Order when you value integrity, act with dignity, courtesy, and intelligence, and when you perform your duties to the best of your ability according to the dictates of your own conscience and best judgment. Now, I'll leave you with a few verses from one of my favorite poems that is so appropriate for Kappa Alpha. It is Longfellow's, these verses are from Longfellow's A Song of Life. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like undriven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother seen shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. Good night, and may God bless you and our noble order.